It's mind-blowing to me, number one, how many females come to me and don't know what the 4 stages of the cycle are, and then that they aren't aware of when they're happening. So maybe that's a good week to program someone's nutrition a bit differently, so they can have, if they crave a chocolate bar, they can have a checkup or whatever it may be, because usually what happens is they fight it, and then just fuck it all in a really bad way. Instead of just curb it there and then, track your cycle each week, each month. And this might take some time to get on the ball with, is right, what happens this week? How do I feel? What did my weight do? What was dinner like? How to recover? How do I sleep? But long story short, you can't really change what's going to happen. But if you know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, you can plan around that really, really well. So the gap in knowledge of nutrition within strength sports is still huge. Hence why I've started hosting this nutrition course to try and help educate other coaches, which is going really well. But I think that people who need educated the most are the people that feel that they don't need to be educated, which is frustrating.
Do I really have to do cardio?
No.
How do I know if I'm overtraining?
Ready?
Should I cut weight for competition?
How much protein am I supposed to always?
Is it ironic that a podcast about Strongman is hosted by a woman?
I think that's kind of the point.
Welcome back to Lift and Load. We are so much more than the sum of our parts. From nutrition, to sleep, to hormones, to even how training cycles can affect our day-to-day performance or how we show up to the floor on competition day. That's why this week we brought Matt McKeegan of MST Systems with us to talk about the one element that so many coaches actually end up forgetting when they're programming for their athletes. So with that, it's time to lock in, lift heavy, load up. We're talking about the human factor. All right. Good morning, everybody. First off, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything, before I get started, that you would like to tell the listeners about you, yourself, your background? For those of you who aren't familiar, Matt McKeegan is a very, very prestigious coach in both nutrition as well as in strength and conditioning. So with that, Matt, thank you for being here.
Yep. Number one, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to having a good discussion about it all. I have been in the fitness industry now for half my life, since I was 15 or 16 years old. I've been competing in Strongman now for 6 or 7 years. I've been coaching people for 10 plus years. So I've got well over a decade of experience in nutrition, bodybuilding, body composition change, lifestyle change, nutrition, all those things. So I'm doing this more than half my life. So I probably forgot some stuff that people don't even know yet. So I've been doing this quite some time now.
And that's a luxury that I can't wait to have when I've forgotten more than some people know. So what brought you into nutrition? Because that is something that I find a lot of strength coaches are realizing it's very important, but it was overlooked for a very long time in the space.
Yeah, it was. And you want to know what? It's still overlooked. Even just a couple of days past, I've had 2 people reach out to me that I have good relationships with. Don't know if I've coached them before. I can't remember. One of the guys did my nutrition course recently. And this part's frustrating me because he's done the course. He's now qualified or certified to my standards, and I employed a nutrition coach that really did him a massive disservice, and he's lost like 9 kilos. He's flat, depleted, looks like shit.
Oh, wow.
And he's going to cut before weeks time. He's going to have to pull out of. So the gap in knowledge of nutrition within strength sports is still huge. Hence why I've started hosting this nutrition course to try and help educate other coaches and other athletes, which is going really well. But I think that people who need educated the most are the people that feel that they don't need to be educated, which is frustrating. Nutrition for me, it's obviously when I first started coaching people and PTing, I was a bodybuilder, so nutrition was huge with bodybuilding. And then as time went on, obviously the more clientele I work with, over I started over a decade ago, the fitness industry has changed a lot since then in finance. But back then, it was really easy to get clients for the sole reason that people seen you really shredded and muscular and lean. I thought, oh, look at that guy, he probably knows what he's doing. Looking back over 10 years ago at some of the plans I was giving out, I did not know what I was doing. I learned as I went. I had loads of courses and actual other coaches. Been very grateful to work with some of the best coaches bodybuilding had to offer at the time. Then I had an interest in mixed martial arts, not so much like the competitive fighting side, but like what these guys put themselves through, the weight cuts and stuff. I just remember seeing a couple of videos of guys cutting 15 kilos, and I was like, how does people do that? And I just started sort of really learning and reading and watching videos and stuff. And then I would say I was one of the coaches as a bodybuilder who very quickly realized that most of my clientele are not bodybuilders. So just everyday females, everyday men. These people can eat chicken and rice and whatever for 4 weeks and they give up. So it was up to me then to become more knowledgeable on actual lifestyle coaching. So how to build someone's plan around what I like to call the human factor. So nutrition for me, nutrition for any coach is a big thing, regardless of athletes or lifestyle coaches. That's where the bulk of my baseline knowledge came from, was just working with everyday people. And I think that's a really good place to start, regardless of if you're going to work with bodybuilders or pro athletes that are strength athletes, because at the end of the day, these people are still human beings. And I think it's a common mistake people make, or I've had clients come to me before, and I've done this in the past as well, where you treat someone that's of an elite level like they're not a human, like they're just robotic. And some of them are, some of them function that way. But I think to start to, if you can work with lifestyle clientele, like 40-year-old woman with 3 kids, holds down a job, has a husband, whatever, and just wants to look better in a bikini. If you can accommodate that and handle what she wants and needs, I think you'll be able to work with most other people. So that's where the baseline of my stuff came from. And my own knowledge, just obviously bodybuilding, you have to know nutrition inside and out. And then as I progressed through Strongman, I very, very quickly had seen such a gap in the market. And I first remember when I first did my 105 World Strongest Man, seeing all these other guys like Nicholas Campion that I competed against, he won my first year, and these other huge guys, because I went to America totally, probably very naive to how things were in the sport, because I was a small 105, I still am. And then as time went on, I became more knowledgeable, got a few clients, shared some, and things just, here we are now. So my way was, not saying my way is the right way, but my ways have definitely been solidified as being successful.
Yeah, and I want to circle back on something that you said that just really that nails it. So I'm a nutrition coach as well, not to the level you are, but I work with many clients on the PT side, on the nutrition side, and the human factor is so real. Because if you tell a person, hey, eat this one meal 4 times a day for 4 weeks, they're going to see results. It's going to be incredible. They're going to hate their lives. And it's not sustainable. And if you don't create sustainable habits, you're not actually teaching them nutrition. You're telling them what to eat for a programmed amount of time, which goes well for bodybuilders. And so that works awesome.
I would not diagnose, but I definitely, post bodybuilding show every time, had some form of weird eating disorder, really horrible relationship with food. And that actually took me quite a while to get out of that habit. And then even just last year, at the start of 2024, I took this mad notion to do another bodybuilding show.
I saw you posting about that.
And again, I ended up after like binging so hard, and I just couldn't stop from doing it. So it works with that said goal. But that said goal is like 10% of your life. You see it so much with weight cut clients as well, and it's it can be a real deep issue you have to delve in with to someone, because there's so many. I think where a lot of people go wrong is looking at stop binging. Like, so, but why are they binging in the first place? There's always an emotional trigger, an environmental trigger, and you end up finding yourself as a good nutrition coach who's confident and comfortable enough about having those conversations. It ends up with some sort of therapy session sometimes, because you have to help the client find those triggers, and sometimes it can end up being an emotional, touchy subject, because it could be for numerous reasons as the way someone thinks that way, and it even it could end up being relationship problems, parenting. But it's so much stuff that you end up getting into.
Yeah, that is absolutely true on the therapy side. Do you find that, because I know a lot of the clients that you work with, at least that we've spoken about previously, are women. You have a very strong niche with working with female athletes, all the way from the brand new novice level all the way to the very elite level. One thing about the eating disorders thing that you mentioned, have you found that that's more prevalent when you work with nutrition clients, when women come to you from previous coaches or previous experiences versus men? Because I don't think it's talked about enough with men.
I would say the label of eating disorder is put on a female faster than it is a male, and a female will be more inclined to label herself with an eating disorder. Maybe even in the sense she doesn't have one. She thinks she has one, or she without this offending someone, with putting it out there as some form of excuse or fallback as this is why I do that, and try and use that as some sort of form of self-care. I have fellas I've worked with before, like weight class athletes, men, who 100%, again, have some form of undiagnosed eating disorder, or just an actual really emotional attachment to food, where they just cannot contain themselves. Anybody, I suppose, that goes for comp season 100% to the rest of the year being zero, the fact that you can be on for 6 months, and then the fact that you literally cannot be on for the other 6 months, that's more than lack of discipline. That's like an emotional, there's a deep emotional trigger there, or something happening that caused you to want to eat this way. And I have males before that, would have mental breakdowns after comps, after weigh-ins. I've seen men do it after doing photo shoots with me, after doing bodybuilding shows. So I don't think there's a massive difference, but I think there's a difference in who actually communicates having an eating disorder or an emotional attachment to food. And that's where a lot of men, just being men, are scared to say. And then I think where people fall through the cracks with a male coach is most male coaches working with females especially aren't comfortable with talking about certain subjects like emotional attachment to food, or traumas that cause this, or relationships, or self-care, self-love, all those conversations that some men just can't seem to have for whatever reason.
Yeah. How do you handle that human factor when it comes to working with women? Because I know that you as a male coach and I know you have both males and females, but how do you handle that when a female comes up to you and says, hey, I would like you to be my coach. This is my experience. And maybe eating disorder aside, maybe they've had a healthy relationship with food. They're just a newer athlete. How do you approach it? Because, and I'll actually caveat this. How would you approach a female athlete that was coming up to you looking to be elite? And then how would you also approach more of a lifestyle client? Do you do it different at all?
The clientele I work with, you could probably imagine there's like 3 versions of MK. So there's we've got groups of females in the gym. We coach like 50, 55, 60 females. They're just lifestyle clients. Some of them do photo shoots from time to time, but again, they're mostly just normal. The version of me they'll get is way different to who Donna Moore is going to get, or yourself. Some are elite, and then novice athletes that get somewhat different again. The difference being is the girls, the lifestyle girls will just get a really nice, friendly, lighthearted, educated coach. I'm never going to come down really hard on most people at all. The novice people, quite similar to the lifestyle clients, but a little more, what would you say, like tough love. And the elite level athletes, and not all of them, but you're here to be elite, so you're going to be treated like an elite. But that being said, anybody that comes on the team or books a call or signs up, expectations will be set by me based on what I get from them. And I'll use someone elite for an example. Donna Moore is someone that needs a lot of care and attention being coached. She's obviously an older female. She's a family. She's kids. She's got a job. She's got other stuff to do. So,
and she's fantastic as an athlete. I mean, when I first started Strongman, I think she was like the second person I followed on Instagram because she popped up and I was like, oh my God.
For me, when I think strongman, I think Donna Moore. And it just always be, okay, I think anyway, for me, that's no offense to that coach. Other girls, some of them are amazing. But Donna, I think, solidified strength sports for females is the what it was. But a lot of people look at someone like Donna, and I did this first when I first started working with her, as like some sort of like a Wonder Woman superhero figure. And then when you break things down, she's just a normal woman like everybody else. So how I will treat someone is how they need treated, because every female or every male, every client's going to be different. So it's important that on the first call you have with someone, or the first conversation is what are their goals, what do they want, and can they handle getting there? So I get this all the time. People will sign up, mostly men. I will say men have really high aspirations. They give up way quicker than a woman. I have found in my experience, not saying that's the way all the time, but women are more determined usually. But they'll come to me, I want to be the best 105 in the world, the 101 under 90 kilos, world's strongest man. Okay, here's what it takes. 6 months into doing what it takes, this is too hard, I can't do it, blah, blah, blah. So it all depends on what you're telling me you want and you need. If you're just a novice strongman or woman that wants to do a couple of competitions, wants to lose some fat, wants to get stronger, bigger, whatever, and enjoy life, we'll set a plan up accordingly. If you tell me you want to be the world's best, no matter what the cost, I'll treat you that way. And it's just about throughout the process and communicating with the client, having an open line of communication, making sure you're approachable, and then just setting their expectations and saying, you told me here's where you want to go, here's how we're going to get there. Can you do it? Can you not? And it's just about having that open line of communication and setting their expectations to let them know. And setting a plan out, I like, it's important to set goals and plans and make your client aware of why you're doing what you're doing. Because I think if someone comes with the goal of like, I don't know, like if someone comes to me, she's 100 kilos, wants to be under 82 by next year, that can be quite daunting. So what we'll do along the way is set smaller goals. So here's your first 4 weeks, it's going to be like a hormonal recomp. We're pushing 8-week fat loss phase. Once we get there, we're also focused on your heart rate, your HRV. So you have to have all these different things. Because if you think about it, just this 1 year long goal, it can be that I'll never get there.
Yeah. And so I love that. So many people don't do enough micro goals. So tell me a little bit about the MK coaching side. Is that what you go about, like how to help people become coaches to walk people through life in that? Or is it more for clients looking to learn more about nutrition? And then you say, this is how you set macros. This is how you set your eating goals, etc. What does that side of the business look like for you when you coach people?
Do you mean coaching other coaches?
Yeah, let's start with that, actually, because I think both would be good, because that is something that you work with quite a bit.
Yeah, so the brand's huge, now to be fair, and it's ended up somewhere that, well, I never didn't think it would be here, but now I'm here, I'm like, well, this is crazy. So we've got that in-gym, in-house thing. There's lots of lifestyle clients, all lifestyle clients, male and female. That does really well, runs itself real good. We've pushed it online with Jess now, so Jess is our head lifestyle coach online. Then I'll work solely just with athletes now. I like programming people, but I prefer nutrition. If someone wants to program around nutrition, I'll do both. And then we've got the education system we've just started last year, which has went really well. Basically a 5-week course on nutrition and weight cuts. And basically, you're going to get an in-depth, comprehensive course on how to manage someone for fat loss, the basic fundamentals of fat loss, performance nutrition, how to weight cut, how to replenish. Basically, all you need to know to have someone be lean, be less fat, be weight and perform really well. And the value that comes from that is, I've done so many courses over the years, and all the people who have done courses, and the stuff you learn in the course is so outdated. It's not relevant. Sometimes the stuff you learn in the course, it just doesn't, even if it's good information, sometimes you apply that in real life and it just doesn't happen. So this course is valuable because it's a combination of all I've learned scientifically and then a decade of experience of scenarios that have happened that's within the course. And they're just the fundamentals and different principles I've picked up over the years of how to coach people, how to treat people, what to do in certain scenarios. And just educating people how to be good nutrition coaches from the bottom up. So it's not even just a course that's going to help you be a good weight cut coach for athletes. It'll just help with everyday clientele. It's going to teach you all the fundamentals from fat loss to performance to weight gain to basic calories and macros and stuff.
And when you're teaching coaches, is there any tidbits, going back to the human factor itself, do you have any recommendation for coaches even listening now? How should they approach training clients? And we'll call it a couple key tidbits. Let's say they have a male and a female. Do you work with kids at all as well, or not so much? Not really. So we'll do so. Like, let's say you've got two clients. There's a 30-year-old man and a 30-year-old woman, both, mid-range athletes. And you've got a coach that's got both of these guys. What would you tell them? How would you recommend they approach it?
So the first thing is always going to be the human factor. Always bear that human factor in mind. And bear in mind, these people you're working with are human beings. And then always trust your process in the sense of the numbers you have and the processes and the principles that you use, the protocols you use. So work on someone's BMR, how many sessions they're doing a week, what you've prescribed, and don't be panicking or jumping the gun too quick when things aren't going as you think they should be. So don't cut calories or make changes too quickly and exhaust the human factor, environmental issues. Like, okay, what's going on at home? What's going on at work? Anything stressing this person out? Could they be making changes that they don't think are bad? I.e., someone could be having a snack that's healthy and push themselves out of the caloric boundaries. So the human factor is a big one. Their environment's a big one. Two go so hand in hand. Like, environmental change is usually the easiest thing to change when it comes to someone not breaking their diet. So don't enjoy food noise, don't be around certain places or things like that, because people associate things like TV, for example, in the evening time. What do we associate TV at night time with? Snacks. You go to the cinema, you get popcorn and chocolate and all that stuff. So addressing the environmental things, focusing on output rather than input. So what I mean by that is I'll always encourage people to have a higher output with any type of clientele rather than just limiting their input. Bearing in mind there's going to be some clientele that just don't have the time to do more. But when I'm focusing on a fat loss phase with someone, the last thing I'm focusing on is the fat loss phase. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to have so many other goals for that person is to progress their lifts, do 4 sessions a week. We'll start off with so many cardio sessions a week, we'll increase that. Watch your range heart rate, watch heart rate variability, set all these different micro goals that we just talked about. And the fat loss phase just ends up being in the back burner. But if you're focusing so hard on being stronger, fitter, healthier, all those things, the fat loss thing, it ends up coming anyway in the end up. And then around all that, the most important thing for anybody, for any plan, especially with an athlete, is giving the body what it needs and when it needs it. And I think that's definitely where most athletes go wrong with nutrition, or most coaches. And again, not shitting on like bodybuilding coaches. This is from experience. I've had a lot of clientele come to me, a bodybuilding coach, and maybe they're lean, they've dropped a lot of fat, they've made weight, but they feel like shit. Because the purpose of a bodybuilding diet is way different than what we're doing here. And how a bodybuilder's diet looks 3 to 4 weeks from their competition will look should look way different than what strongman should, because food should be really, really here, whereas a bodybuilder's food here. So bear in mind the human factor, environmental factor, what your client's goals are, and are they actually, can they number one achieve those goals? Are they realistic? And have you set their expectations? When giving the body what it needs? Well, those 4 things I think are four. If you can bear those 4 things in mind, you shouldn't probably go far wrong. And then obviously make sure you know how to manage some of the nutrition correctly, in the sense of how to set the macros properly, how to work out the calories, how to know what their TDE is, stuff like that. And then just not panicking. That's a real big thing in the course. Because even people that have went through the course with me, like someone yesterday contacted me, she's a client cutting weight, things aren't going the way they thought of, she was panicking. I was like, whoa, relax. The protocols are right, you just bear with it. X, Y, Z has happened different this time because the A, B, and C was different than last time. As the coach, you need to not panic, because if your client's panicking, you're their safe sequence. If you panic, the whole thing's fucked.
It goes down from there.
Even if you have a scenario where you are panicking, because I've been there before, the client cannot know that you are like, fuck me, what's going on? So it's just about being calm and take ownership at all times.
So would you say it's fair that if there is a client that feels like they're not getting that kind of attention, not even attention, but maybe, diligence, or they feel like their coach is like, here's a plan, go eat that. Do you think it's fair for a client to push back and say, hey, I need you to look at this more holistically?
I think the client should handle that depending on what way the coach handles that. So if as a coach, you should always be open to feedback and communication from your client. Because look, let's say, Christina, you start working with me tomorrow. I make this meal plan. I think that's probably the best meal plan I've ever made. I might send that to you and you're like, no, Matt, that won't work because X, Y, Z. And if those reasons are valid because of whatever, because of work or kids or routine, then as a good coach, you will change and adapt. Some coaches are just like, no, my way or no way. It has to be this way. usually those coaches are uneducated and they only have one way. So that's why they be that way. And again, as I say, I'm not going to say I've never been the person that hasn't done that a long time ago, but I came to realize that, okay, I can't. I realized this was I was getting loads of people through these crazy transformations as the whole thing was back then, but nobody was staying on after 12 weeks. And it's because their diet was so grim. So you have to just learn how to accommodate someone's diet. So if you're going to a coach with valid reasons as to why you want something changed and it aligns with your goals, it's up to you and the coach to meet halfway and fix that. If you're just being a pain in the ass client and you're constantly change, like when you come to a coach to make change, you have to be aware to make change. You have to make change, and you're coming from a meal plan as much variety as you can give someone with cooking food certain ways or changing protein sources and carb sources. You're not going to get a fancy recipe book if you want that sort of coaching. There's other mediocre services for that. Like, I don't know what you have in America with like Weight Watchers and Slimming World, all these stupid calorie counting things. In my opinion,
Rebranding constantly.
if you want that shit, you're going to get the results from the effort you put in. If it's been proven so many times, calorie counting doesn't work. Maybe it does, but if you want to be really serious and get in good shape and make good change, your food choices are very important. And then again, there are definitely times I have clients that we will bend the rules for what my principles are to get them to the goal. For example, I have a client who's just adamant. He has to have a cheat meal every weekend or he can't, whatever. We argued for fucking weeks about this and I was like, okay, well, let's put the cheat meal in there. We'll program it so it works. And we've never had an issue since he's made progress. So there's definitely times as a coach where you have to open your mind about them and be like, right, okay, here's my emotions and feelings, put them here. And if it means the client's going to get a long-term result in a better way, then do it. And I think that's a barrier for a lot of clientele. And some coaches just can't do that for, I don't know. I'm doing this a long time. So I think ego-wise, I don't feel like I have one. And if someone comes to me, I'll try my best to accommodate. And I'm also confident enough in my knowledge that I can say, look, here's why we should not do it this way. And sometimes it's just best to let them do it that way for a few weeks. And they're like, this isn't working. I'm like, well, told you. But so I think it's 100% as a client, you should feel comfortable questioning your coach. And not in the sense of questioning to say, I think you're wrong. Why am I doing this? Where is this taking me? If you go to a coach though, and you're sort of like, oh, I've done this way before, and you just sort of let that go. It's definitely if you're very experienced, you know how your body works. And if a client comes to me that's experienced and they know this works, I'll keep that there. But if someone comes as a total beginner or novice, they don't really have the experience to say, I know this works. So it depends what you're bringing to your coach, and it depends how your coach communicates back. And again, like that guy I told you about yesterday that had the real problem with the weight cut thing, when he approached his coach and addressed it, his coach told him to go fuck himself. So it's
there you go.
That's the opposite of what you should do.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I want to circle back, and this is a bit of a pivot to something next I wanted to talk to you about. But you said something earlier when you were talking about, how to adjust both men and women and think of make sure that how you're coaching someone works with what their body needs, right? One very real thing that we talked about when we were having a chat before this was strength training with females and how hormones affect that. Because sometimes the body, and this is a little bit of nutrition, but also, you do have strength coaching experience. And so how can you give a bit of a summary for people in the different aspects of the female cycle and how it applies to strength training, both in output and what they might need input wise? Because that's something that when I was going around getting this show ready to go, I got like 5 people instantly. They're like, can you please tell me why I feel weak at this random time in the month? And how do I help?
Yeah, it's a massive thing, but it's something people come to me. Patricia Smith's like the best example. We pronounced her name correct. She's in the Netherlands. She worked with MST. I work with MST, so both of us communicated. And for like 2 weeks of the month, she would just have wild dips in strength. Like Patricia can deadlift for 260, 270 kilos.
Wow.
Really, really strong female. But what she would do is she would have a deadlift session like that, like a really top end session, and she couldn't do the same thing for a month again. It was pure hormonally. When she was having her cycle, she was bleeding for like 12, 13, 14 days, no blood for 2 days, repeat again. So her cycle was all over the place.
Oh my God.
And then on top of that, you put performance enhancers on, and it's a minefield. But what I'll always tell each female when they come to me is like, look, you're going to have your cycle, and according to textbooks, you get 28 days, you're going to have your menstruation, follicular, ovulation, the real phase. And there's a textbook that say you should have X amount of days for each time, but that's very rarely the case with females. And then again, you've got contraceptives, you've got performance enhancers, even the fact you're maybe really lean, muscular, pushing about these limits. There's so many obligating factors that's going to change maybe why something happens. And what I'll everyone do is keep a diary. It's mind-blowing to me, number one, how many females come to me and don't know what the 4 stages of the cycle are, and then that they aren't aware of when they're happening. So we can't change what's going to happen to your body on the follicular phase or when you're ovulating, but we can plan around that and manage it for loads of reasons. So if you're, example, in the follicular phase, for you, Christina, for example, that's a week you just don't feel good at all. You can't train hard, you don't recover well. That's probably a really stupid week to be trying to push a hard training week. So that's a good time to program a deload. Maybe then you've got like menstruation, where it was very common for most people to be hormonal or emotional or crave stuff. So maybe that's a good week to program someone's nutrition a bit differently. So they can have, if they crave a chocolate bar, they can have a chocolate bar or whatever it may be, because usually what happens is they fight it, and then it's just fuck it all in a really bad way, instead of just curbing it there and then. Same with recovery. And the best way to approach that is, as a female, is to track your cycle each week, each month. And this might take some time to get on the ball with, is what happens this week? How do I feel? What did my weight do? What was dinner like? How to recover? How do I sleep? Your mood, loads of things. And just keeping track that and keep a note. But if you can communicate that with your coach, you're aware each week of what happens. As you make healthier changes to your nutrition, maybe supplementation, other things in your routine, how your body responds in those different scenarios may become less extreme or more extreme, and that can or may improve. Like Patricia's did, for example, really well, and regarding some like estrogen receptor modulators, like them, some of those supplements help really well. But the long story short, you can't really change what's going to happen. But if you know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, you can plan on that really, really well. And then again, for nutrition clients, for me, when it comes to like, regardless of what your goals are, females especially, and men, everyone likes looking a certain way. And if you check in there and you jump on the skates and you weigh 6 pounds more and you've stuck your pound, you're like, oh my God, you lose your mind. Because if you know, so on the week of ovulation, I am going to gain 6 pounds more, and you do, you're like, okay, that's normal. Because but people still lose their shit.
It means calm down. It's okay. It's going to happen again. I'll see you in a month.
And then see, just knowing things like during like the real phase of ovulation, that maybe the body is more, it's going to be glycogen saving during those different stages of your cycle. So if someone feels really good maybe during the real phase, and they can push really hard in a week, being aware that, right, okay, during this week of the cycle, the body is going to be more fat adaptive. So it's a good coach line, right, okay, so this week, Christina, we're going to put your carbs back, but we're going to have more energy from a fat source, because if your body can have access to glycogen that it's getting, because it's storing it because of the hormonal response or phase it's in, it makes no sense to fuel it that way. And again, that can then spill over and lead to weight gain or water retention. So there's a lot of things to bear in mind when it comes to the female body. And the hard thing is, like, for me, obviously, I've never had a buyer with this as such, thankfully. I think because of what the way I'm there, but I can imagine as a female going to a man, I can't relate because I've never took a cycle. All I can do is study it. So for me I can't relate. So all I can do is sort of learn, here's what happens. But I could have 10 females in my diary, and every single one could have the exact, that's so different.
Yeah.
Again, it's just about that part's very client specific, and it comes with time consuming. Some females are fine. Some other females it's hard work. But again, communication and making sure your client is invested in tracking their cycle and being as savvy with it as you want them to be, and then communicating that. Because again, you're just setting someone up for failure if you're not aware. Like, if number one as a client, if you're not aware, but Number two, as a coach, if you're not aware that Christina, for example, during the follicular phase or when she's bleeding, is really weak, if you go and say, right, okay, we're 3 weeks on from comp, I want you to go on an RP9 set of deadlifts, and you can't do it. Mentally, you have a breakdown. Competition prep is skewed. It's just a not good. Whereas if you are aware of that, say, right, okay, this is not a good week to do that, so program that a week earlier or a week later, everyone's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually really a good point. So, as a client, and you're like, okay, I've got a comp in 3 weeks. I know I'm feeling really weak right now. The problem with competitions is you can't change the date. So, it doesn't matter if your body says you're weak that day or not. How do you coach around that? Let's say you look at your diary and you know this client might historically, you've been working with them for 2 years, and their weakest week is going to be on the comp.
Yeah.
Do you coach around that? Do you give it certain nutritional advice? Do you say, up your iron, or like, how do you manage that, or can you manage that?
What I do is, again, we can't change what's going to happen. We've tried different medications before that you can get to stop the process your cycle happening that week. What I have found, anyway, at least from the feedback from the females, they still felt the same way. They just didn't have a flow. And again, long term, it's sort of, I don't like changing mother nature. So don't like the fact that stopping, because there could be other implications. Only thing I'll ever do if that happens, it's fun enough, it's rare that it does happen, is you should have stopped training, like heavy training, peak training a bit sooner, and just focus on being really well rested. As long as the client is on track with their weight and stuff, have their diet set up as perfect as you can for that comp day. And 9 times out of 10, a general will just take you through some.
Yeah.
See if you have a female and their nutrition's on point, recovery's on point, they sleep well, training's went well, everything's good, they'll usually be fine. You'll only ever have a problem, I have found, if a client fucks about with their plan, hasn't trained that well, and recovery hasn't been focused, maybe they're stressed, their cycle that week of the comp or the day will hit them a lot harder. If everything else is where it should be, 9 times out of 10, they'll be okay. Will they be at peak performance? Probably not, but
It is what it is. Yeah, that reminds me of I think I've talked about this on previous episodes. So I've personally been victimized by this and I didn't even know it. So I was getting ready for OSG regionals over in Florida last August. And I was a fighter previously. My background, was with MMA, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, etc. So I knew a weight cut and I knew about what my body can do. I can really go down personally. I walk around at, 73 kilos. Really, I walk around closer to 75 to 80 half the time, but I can cut about, 3 to 4 kilos pretty easily without really trying. And so I'm planning on that. I know I'm going to be okay. It's the day before the comp and I was doing this, and I'm not going to do the conversion now because I do this in pounds because from US side. So I'm at 164. I needed to be at 160 and the weight's not moving. Can't get it down. I'm looking at everything, doesn't make sense. And I'm like sitting in a sauna and I was like, this makes absolutely no sense. Never had trouble with a weight cut. I'm wondering if it's stress. It's my first major comp, whatever. Next morning I wake up and I'd started my cycle. I went, oh, that makes sense on the weight cut side. So had I had a diary, because that was something I wasn't great about tracking as an athlete at all. And so had I had a diary, had I known, I would have been able to account for that better. I probably would have been able to really start maybe my weight cut sooner. But from a performance perspective, I PR'd everything, and adrenaline is something.
Yeah, as a strong-minded, like a determined female, you should be fine. And again, anybody listening to this, learning this before something bad happens is valuable information because you're learning from someone else's mistakes. Because the first time this impacted me as a coach really badly, I might have shared this story with you long before, was with Donna Moore. It was the first time the Arnold's was the UK. Donna was doing under 82. She was cutting from like 86. Monday came, Tuesday came, whatever it was, she 84, happy day. Easy cut. Wakes up on like the Thursday day before weigh-in, 85. And I was like, how has it got so impossible? Like, because the protocols, she's got took my period. I was like, oh my God.
Oh no.
I don't know about all the sweating protocols, all the stuff. And she'd done like 10 rounds of baths. Should have dropped mathematically like 4 or 5 kilos. Dropped like 0.9. Donna's in the phone with me crying and all this stuff. And I was like, Donna Moore's going to miss weight. Donna Moore because of me. So I was like, Donna, don't panic. It's fine. got off the calls.
Like, is it fine?
I rang another guy. We did whatever we did, got it sorted. I have never missed weight once with hundreds of clients. And I started with Donna, but the only reason we made weight is because the Arnolds had a 0.5 kilo allowance. For whatever reason they did, and Donna weighed on 82.5. That was a really valuable lesson for me and for Donna. But the hard thing there was for Donna because she hadn't menstruated in so long. So the fact this happened, it was like really good sign because this is when we were just first working together because her health markers have improved so much, which is another important thing that females. There's a lot of females in strength sports that are maybe unnatural, aren't menstruating or taking a cycle, and that's such a bad thing. So actually got one deep down. I was like, oh, Donna's what I'm wanting to do long term with Donna is working, but it couldn't have happened at the worst time. So that's another thing as well. If you are checking performance enhancer, you're really lean or your body's just under stress, your cycle being stopped is like one of the main things. The female, your body telling you something we don't like what's happening, right? But what we do is an extreme sport. We do extreme things. Doesn't mean that it's totally unhealthy. It can't be done in a healthier way. And that's a real important thing that I try and advocate with. So that's a takeaway for other coaches and something people miss a lot. They just don't care about the health of a client. And I get this a lot with like really young females that come to me that are in early 20s and someone's pushed anabolics on them before, and I'm like, look, you aren't old enough, without sounding patronizing someone, you're not really old enough yet to make the decision to say, right, I potentially don't, are you okay with not having kids? Are you okay with X, Y, and Z on your body physically change and all these things? So it's a big thing to bear in mind. And regardless of like the PEDs or not, just the extremity of what you put in your body through, it's what your health is about the forefront of what you're doing. So it's not like you're ever going to get a big payday in the sport. And even if you were, still your health's your health. Like, so that should be the most important thing. And I think it's definitely, I don't know if it's done intentionally by other coaches, male coaches. I think it's just lack of education. And what we're saying, coaching females like smaller males, when it's not the case at all.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of and very well-intentioned coaches will treat a female client, and I've seen this, I've experienced this. They'll treat a female client and a male client the same. Their protocols will be the same. And it's just the female, you're like, oh, you just have less weight and you're a little smaller. You're shorter and you can't pick up as much. There's so many other like physiological factors that come into play there. And that gets missed, unfortunately, quite a bit. So I'm glad there's people like you. And so it's very important for people to be able to do their research, find coaches, sometimes that were taught by coaches like you, but also know when it's okay to take a look in the mirror and say, am I doing what makes sense for my body?
Yeah, 100%. And then even as a coach, being open-minded is so important because even like for me, there's like one of the best nutrition coaches in the sport. Does that mean there's not someone else out there that knows more than me? 100% not. And I will always try and be in a room with someone or somewhere where I can learn from someone. So if you're a coach listening to this, no matter what level you're at, you can always learn from someone else. And don't be scared to do that. I think you might even, like, not you might, the most of the stuff I know I've learned from my clients. So they'll teach me things just by the processes that they're going through. Or, for example, all of the females I've worked with at a very high level, they know their body way better than I will. So it's just a matter of me, right, okay, so me and Nancy did this for these 6 months. Here's how that worked. Right, okay, so here's a protocol. I'll save that for the next year. Did that with Donna. Did that with Claire. Here's Lucy's plan. And that's how, as a good coach, you make your own protocols instead of just being this one-size-fits-all guy. You can take all this information and get, because even the nutrition course I host, that's what I say to everyone that's doing it. Here's how I've done things over the last 10 years and modified them to be the MK way. Here's my principles. I want you to take them away, copy them word for word if you want, but as time goes on, improve on them, make them better, because my way is not the only way. And that's how I have learned through females and learning from the girls I work with. Because as I said, I'm not a female. I don't know how it feels to be a female and never will. So all you can do is learn and listen to your clients and some other coaches you work with. I'm very lucky I work with Shane. And that's with Shane, obviously. Most of the girls he coaches programming, I'll do nutrition. So there's a good line of communication there. He's got a good team of people like Dan, Harry, you're also very well educated. And it's just about having conversations with other coaches. And I think other coaches get it wrong in the sense where they unintentionally isolate themselves because they think, oh, it's me and my business. Whereas every time I'm competing in America or Europe, I'm always networking, talking to people, and learning, and just putting your name out there. That's how you grow your business, how you grow your knowledge. And just, I think that's a lot of coaches wrong. It's like it's an ego or something. You'll never be this. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
It's true. I've said a lot recently that Strongman is really the biggest group project I've ever seen. It's a whole bunch of knowledge that we're trying to pool in and just make everybody better. But I think that bleeds into other disciplines. That bleeds into nutrition for bodybuilding. That bleeds into anything from conventional strength sports, powerlifting, etc. So it's growing and evolving. So talking to people helps.
It's like a big pie. There's so many pieces to it. So you've got your programming, nutrition, recovery, conditioning. There's so many things, and I think the old school way is definitely, I think, slowly but surely being pushed out. And the better improved ways of doing things. Some of the stuff done back in the day will always stand true, and we've learned a lot from that. But we've adapted and overcame, and there's so many factors to bear in mind. It's not just about being the biggest and strongest. There's so many things to take into account when it comes to the modern sport. And I think anyway.
Definitely. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on here today, and for everyone listening. So we're going to put your socials in our description, but it is MK Coaching, and then that you have links to, I believe, your nutrition course on there, and then your page itself has quite a few bits of information for people to check out. I've looked myself, but highly recommend.
Always try and post some sort of free educational content when I have time. So yeah, check the links out there. There's links to the course, coaching inquiries, the other coaches that work with me, like Jess and Donna. Nutrition course, next one starts tomorrow, so it's full. Next one's in March. The nutrition course is a very popular one. And then if you're in Ireland or visiting Ireland, there's links to the gym that I own, all my sponsors, merchandise, loads of stuff. So check the page out and give me a follow. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again, and I'm sure we'll talk soon. And I'd love to have you back sometime to keep talking about this as the year progresses. I want to see how your athletes do.
Anytime. Christina, thanks very much, and have a nice day.
Thanks, you too. Take care.